Wow. This is going to be a bit of a different video than I typically do. Usually I do videos that are more of a trail or maybe a few trails. However, this is going to be more of a park tour. And to keep the length of the video down, the less exciting parts will be sped up as you see here. There's a reason for this approach. When I searched for off-road parks in my general area, Potawatomi Off-Road Park came up. There's not a whole lot of video out there on the park, and I couldn't really find a map of the park. Thus, I'm using this video to provide a sense of what the park's like. I certainly didn't go on all the trails that are probably at the park, but I think there's enough to get a feel for the park. I'm also going to create a map that I'm going to put on Maprika with some of the tracks that I covered. So at least if you go to the park, you will know where to find some of the spots that I cover here. Okay, track one, this is not really much of a trail. Instead of it's more of an open path just to get from the park's entrance to other places. However, I saw this nicely eroded path and I like off-camber stuff, so I gave it a go. It ended up providing a little bit of fun right off the bat with some wheel lifts, so that's always cool. Might put lockers on for this section. Was a little fun right out of the gates. One other thing I wanted to mention was I saw from various sites online that the park looks like it's $5 or $10, but I think it was more like $10 to $15. And at least when I went, there was a drop-off box for payment, so there was no one actually there. So bring exact change, otherwise you'll feel obligated to overpay like I did. Track 2 starts with some more dirt paths that end up taking you to what I believe is some type of fine aggregate piles. I don't know for sure, but I suspect that there used to be mining on this land. I say this because there were a couple other locations that had similar aggregate piles, and from the light coloring of the aggregate piles, I'm assuming maybe it was limestone that was mined here. Also, another clue was the number of lakes on the property that I'm assuming were probably created from the excavation of materials in the land. This particular area had the highest of these piles, which made for some short but fun off-camber climbs.
Lockers.
Most of track 3 runs south and north through the center of the park before going east and eventually starting to go into the woods. And as you can hear and probably see, this trail, like many at the park on the spring day, were a bit overgrown. Otherwise, many of the trails at the park are not too demanding and would be good for those who are new to off-roading. I should mention, because there was no map for the park, I basically just randomly drove different trails. I was kind of surprised I managed not to rerun on too many of the same paths taking this approach, but it was fun. Made me feel like I was some sort of explorer.
Let's see what this looks like. Okay, I'll probably regret this because I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of this tree in my face, but we'll do it. Try to go high up on this one side. Oh yeah, lots of tree.
Track 4 is the entrance into more of the hilly and rocky part of the park, an area which would be good if you're looking for a little bit more of a challenge.
about this for the heck of it. Sweaty. It is hotter today.
Track 5 is basically a ravine area with a bunch of different hills that you can climb up and down, in and out of the ravine. I did some of the hill pass. I didn't certainly do all of them. And I'd say that most of them you don't really need lockers, but maybe a little bit of skinny pedal.
A hill climb to keep me entertained. Face full of limb and pollen this time of the year. Fun trail. Didn't see this trail. It's kind of interesting up top. Slide into that rock. Put my lockers on for a little bit more traction. Okay, just pass that back and turn them off. Going up one of these hills here. Choose which one. Wasn't expecting that. Okay, we're gonna see where this one takes us. Well, I know it's gonna take us, but how's it's gonna go? I think I'll put it on locker.
This particular hill
Lack
was
of
steep
traction.
and it had some rocky ledges at the top. And although it was dry, the terrain really didn't have a whole lot of grip to it. But as you can see, I really wanted to get up it.
Let's go one more time. I'm going to try to hit it toward the passenger side. Screw it. That made me really sad.
After failing to go up a hill, I had the brilliant idea of going down it instead. I found another path to go up the hill, and first time down, I mistakenly took the wrong path down. So I went back up a second hill, different hill, and eventually did find the path that I wanted to go down.
Slippery. Woo! That did not take walkers. I kind of forced it a little bit. Oh, I didn't. I didn't go down the correct hill. Well, let me go up here.
As you can see, it was a little bit of a carnival ride coming down. I did just barely touch the tree with the top of the Jeep. However, there was really no damage to it and everything ended well.
Alright, this time I'm going to look for that hill. Probably one of those, not a good idea. That was not a good idea. I think I whacked my back. Let's see what the damage is.
Track 6 continues in this little rocky ravine. Eventually it ends in a small rock garden, which on this trip I decided to bypass. It was fairly early in the trip and I wanted to explore more of the park. And the rock garden would have been a lot easier with a spotter. I could have self-spotted, but it would have taken quite some time. In any case, after this, basically I hit kind of some open paths back towards the front of the park near the power lines.
Oh.
For most of this little ravine, you don't really need lockers. I did at this particular fork take the harder part, which I did eventually have to throw on lockers and give it a little gas just to get over some of these larger, slicker rocks.
Maybe need some lockers here. This side, we have some pretty significant rocks. Not to say that I can't do it, but I'd feel much better with a spotter. Especially at the end here. Again, I think there's some lines through here, but you need precision, and without a spotter you can't get that. But a pretty fun little area to try. Future time, I guess. Continuing on, looks fun, but I'll need a spotter to do it. I think I might be able to find a line through there to do, but there's a lot of big rocks, so I'm just going to bypass for today.
Track 7 starts by following the power line trail that is on the western side of the park, which eventually leads to another set of aggregate piles. Although these piles were not tall like the previous ones, they did offer some nice off-camber action to them. And as you will see, you have to be a bit careful navigating through these, or you may get more of an exciting ride than you had planned on.
Goes rear lockers. This part's gonna be sketchy. Gun it a little bit. My front lockers here too. Oh. I think I might be high center. Whoa, shit. Oh, I see what I did. I realized I had that little part on my driver's side. I thought it was already in there. Yeah, that's where a spotter would come in handy. Well, there's a few options here. I could go down this hill and wait for it. So that's still posted. So we gotta turn this way. So you go then back up this little hill, but there's a bunch of stuff out there. Or you could go up here, which kind of looks interesting. And maybe if there wasn't a bunch of wood on it right now, I'd be tempted. But that's a pretty significant notch there. And it also looks like there's the possibility of cutting down here, which looks like it leads to a creek. And again, there's some barbed wire, so we can't go that way. Looks like we could go this way, but I think for right now I'm just gonna turn back. Okay, just turned around, and straight is where we came up from those weird formations. So instead of going right, we're going left. Big bunny rabbit up there.
Track 8 starts near the creek that I pointed out, goes by a different set of power lines, and then along some smaller hills back towards the northern center of the park and terminates at another aggregate pile. However, this particular aggregate pile appears to be outside of the park's boundaries.
I guess if you're afraid of getting pinstripes, probably not the best set of trails. There's a lake. See, but there's actually a lake back here as well. Okay. It's all no-no areas to the left.
Track 9 is on the eastern side of this lake that sits on the north side of the park. There's a few short but steep hills in this particular area.
Pretty nice lake. It's rained a lot past. Well, actually not this week, but it's 2 weeks before this, so. Before I climb a hill, I should see what's on the other side of it. Several ways out after I'm up at the top of it. That got me good. Turtle on the trail. Stay there, buddy. Stay right there. Oh, damn it. Let's see if we hit the turtle. Turtle survived. Hey, turtle. You got some tree stuff all over, pollen. Pollen.
Track 10 is just east of the ravine shown in tracks 4 and 5. There's quite a nice creek that runs to the north of it. I'm not sure if you can drive on it or not. It does look like part of it is in bounds for the park. But in any case, it's a good place where you can relax and grab lunch like I did.
There's a nice little climb there. Stop it. That was my bad.
Track 11 starts with a nice hill climb in one set of woods, and then eventually I found myself back in another set of woods at the southeastern side of the park.
Slide there. Okay. Out of bounds on the left again.
Woods at the southeastern side of the park. This part of the park was super overgrown, and after continuously getting whacked in the face by heavily pollinated pine tree branches, I decided to throw on some safety glasses just to avoid all that.
Here's how I go through these. Ridiculous.
I don't typically have allergies, but the pollen was so thick on this particular day that it was starting to get to me. I was starting to cough a little bit. But other than that, the day was absolutely beautiful. Nice, warm, mid-May day.
Jesus.
After eventually finding my way out of the woods that did not like me, I eventually found my way back to the front of the park and then to the original aggregate pile, so I played on that for a little bit again.
Okay, so this is where I started. Well, eventually started. There's my tracks. Go back this way.
After playing around on the aggregate pile for a little bit, track 13 continues on through kind of an open area, which I'd imagine would be pretty fun to speed around in on a side-by-side. Then continuing on in some open area, eventually got to the woods on the northern side of the park, which were relatively flat in terms of terrain. Track 14 starts near the southeast part of the park, just outside of the thick woods that were battering me earlier, and I'm heading towards the front of the park. This track is pretty open and otherwise unremarkable. However, I did go past this heavily eroded section that you can see here on the driver's side. I did think about giving it a try, but at this point I was hot and tired, and sometimes you have to just resist the just one more trail urge to avoid trouble. You know, you gotta drive home at the end of the day.